Alright, welcome back to my office. This is going to be my office. A lot of videos are coming out of my office. I just recorded a 30-minute fucking video, and it turns out the camera was like tilted down a little bit, so I'm a little bit demoralized at the moment. You know what? I might just fuck it. I'm just gonna fucking upload it up to YouTube anyway. Well, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. You guys can all suck a dick. You can watch the shitty video. I'm not a goddamn director, alright? Editing's kind of fun, but I'm not a director. So consider this part 2. Sweet. I was going to shoot the whole video again, but I feel like a weight has been lifted. So, one thing that I didn't say in part 1, or maybe I did, I don't remember, is that wool is great, but a key part about wool, well, it's great because it's durable, which suits our needs for 6 months, gotta be. It insulates while it's wet, and at the expense of weight, obviously. But, you know, that just means we gotta pick and choose real carefully what wool items we're gonna bring and what wool items we're not gonna bring. But on the insulating while wet, wool will insulate while wet if you're moving, if you're exerting yourself. I got a hat on, and it's fucking raining. I'm going to be insulated. Doesn't matter how fucking cold it is. I mean, it's got to get really cold before it starts really affecting you while you're moving. I mean, I've been personally in, let's see, in Korea. I remember it being fucking negative 10 degrees. And I had that wool scarf thing that they issue you. And I remember everything else being cold except for my fucking neck. So wool's great while you're moving to insulate, but while it's wet. But when you stop and it's wet, that's where you run into issues. I've slept underneath wet wool blankets, and wherever your body contacts the blanket, it's going to be cold. It will trap the air in, if that makes sense. But wherever your body, like, you know, if you're just laying back, the blanket's going to be draped over you. Wherever your body touches it, it's going to be colder than the air. So the air is warm, and it's trapping it, and it's great. And, yeah. Anyway, lost my train of thought, another tangent. You can alleviate those cold spots by putting a waterproof, breathable layer over it. And that's where the bivy bag comes in. That's really the bivy bag's only purpose. The bivy bag weighs like 2.5 pounds or something, but and it's not very multi-purpose. Although, like, let's say you killed a deer and you didn't want to carry it, you can drag it around. This shit is fucking... You can drag it over some shit. It's very durable. But primarily, the bivy bag exists because one of the criteria of the goddamn pack is I want to be able to function down to 20 degrees while everything is soaking fucking wet. And I cannot do that. Even without it being wet, if you just go into the woods with a wool blanket, like I see all these guys in their kits, they got these wool blankets, you're going to freeze your fucking ass off, dude. And if there's even the slightest amount of wind, you're going to freeze your fucking ass off. The wind is going to cut right through the wool unless you have like an uber dense weave. Like these Italian wool blankets are pretty dense, but wind still cuts through them. And if that fucking blanket's wet, forget about it. Forget about it. Keep you from dying? Probably. Comfortable? No, you're going to be awake all night. And that's one of the keys of shelter. Especially when we're talking about waking up and humping over mountains for 4 or 5 miles, and every goddamn day, sleep is crucial. Crucial. You need to sleep. Otherwise, your body's like, fuck you, we need some damn sleep. So, in order to sleep, you need to be relatively comfortable, and you're not going to be fucking comfortable if you just take this goddamn Italian wool blanket out into the woods, and it's 20 degrees, and you're wet, and you try to wrap up with it. I promise. Go test it out. All these lessons I've learned the fucking hard way. Trust me. Don't take my word for it. I didn't take anyone else's word for shit. I just tried shit out, learned the hard way. It's a great learning experience. You'll never forget it. So, when the wool is wet, when these wool blankets get wet, and they will get wet, you got to have a waterproof. Waterproof doesn't really matter, but it's got to be windproof in order to insulate. Waterproof is just like an extra bonus, you know, because normally when you find a waterproof layer, you're also going to find a windproof layer. The best part about Gore-Tex is goddamn breathable, no condensation, as we said earlier. So that pretty much covered, I think, everything I had to say about the insulative layers and the waterproof breathable layers, and why I carry these 4 items in my pack. Let's move on. Yeah, get back now. Get on here. Let's move on to sleeping pads. This is going to be relatively quick. I love sleeping in a hammock. If I just go hammock camping, or just go camping like casually for fun, I'm totally sleeping in a hammock. I can't afford the weight. The weight of the hammock in my bag, excuse me, is not worth the lack of multi-usability of the hammock. And like I said earlier, I tried to combat that with things like this, you know, the cotton twill, wax cotton twill. This makes a great hammock. My wife slept in it, or started to fall asleep in it, said it was awesome. So I slept in it. I love all hammocks. But I just use these ripstop nylons, these long sheets of ripstop nylon for a hammock. And you can't really use those for anything else, you know, consistently, back to back, over a course of 6 months. So it's not in my EWLS system, but damn, I love sleeping in a hammock. And I also have a video on my website touting the glory of the Thermarest Pro Light 3. And I also love this thing for camping. If I'm just going camping, I'm taking the Thermarest Pro Light 3. This thing is awesome. It's a mattress. You can go watch my video on it. It's it's great. But the problem with this for the EWLS pack is it's not multi-usable, right? It's not, I mean, it's durable enough, but it's not bomb-proof. That's debatable. I mean, it really is bomb-proof. It's bomb-proof until 4 months into your 6-month trip, coal from the fire jumps out on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is bomb-proof, don't get me wrong. But it's not like flame-proof and knife-proof. And it is a little bit heavier than the foam pad that I showed earlier. So I went with the foam pad because, like I said, it's got spark marks all over it. I don't even know if you can see them on the camera, but there's one. Here's where I left it up against the floorboard heater for a while, you know, like it still works. It's great. It's gonna take a lot to blow this up. So utterly bomb-proof, for show. And not to mention, it's lighter weight, which is good. And really, the clincher, the deal sealer, it's multi-usable. I could maybe cut bits of this off and make sandals if I had to, you know, in a pinch, or I can use this as I sit on this thing all the time as like a sit pad, you know, if you're just stopping to filter some water, or a floaty. This thing makes a great fucking floaty if you're swimming around in the woods, or you have to do a river crossing, which inevitably you're going to have to do. But we'll get into that later when we go through the possible section of the bag. So this thing, while more bulky and less comfortable, ultimately wins out for the EWLS bag. And you need a sleeping pad, in case you guys don't know. Again, go out. Try, unless you're in like fucking Florida or something. If it gets anywhere below like 60 degrees at night, you're going to freeze your ass off sleeping on the ground. So go out and try it. I dare you. I dare you. Seriously, it's the best learning experience. You will never forget. You will never forget. And I know this thing's uncomfortable because my fat ass sleeps on this. I've slept on this many times, and one layer is kind of sucks. But the one way I get around that is I fold it in half, And when I fold this thing in half, my hip and my shoulder are insulated and on it, right? On the pad. And I use my backpack as a pillow and some other stuff, you know. So my head isn't on the ground, and past my about my knees are on the ground. But the thing that matters is that I'm comfortable. I can sleep like that because when I sleep just on this thing alone, just one layer of this thing on hard ground, my shoulder and my hip dig into the fucking ground, and that's what makes me uncomfortable. So when I fold it in half, that doesn't happen. Your feet don't necessarily need to be insulated. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive to say your feet don't need to be insulated, but that you'll see a lot of foam pad sellers selling like 3/4 pads and shit like that, and that's, you know, it's, I don't even really know what I'm trying to say. They don't need to be they need to be insulated, but you don't need to do it with a foam pad. If you just kick up a pile of debris and shit, you know, down by your feet, you don't even have to put your feet in it. Just something on top where your feet are not literally on like the organic layer of ground out there, or the A layer of ground out there. Anything will do. I use palm trees. You can go look at my Tumble Lake camping trip video on my website. And during that camping trip, at the very end, you'll see a photo of where I set up camp at another place. We moved camp around. I went, you know, and I set it up at another place, and I only used, like, before compaction, about an inch of pine needles, a length about an inch of pine needles, or pine boughs. And that was enough to insulate me throughout the night, for sure. I didn't get warm. Granted, I did sleep next to a fire, but again, sleep on the ground next to a fire, you will quickly find out that why people make raised bed things, because the fire will not insulate you on the ground. But the pine needles did. That's the whole point. They weren't comfortable. They fucked my back up. It was a learning experience, quite the adventure, but they did insulate me. So when I fold this thing in half, I don't necessarily need my from my knees down to be padded, or insulated from this thing, because I can just go kick around a bunch of branches or cut some pine boughs or something like that. So that's why I take this thing. So now we've covered sleeping pads, your mobile insulatory system, my immobile insulatory system, and homeostasis, and how to think about shelter. And I wanted to tie food into it, because your body's furnace is basically is the essence of your shelter. But I'm gonna keep food separate for a separate, you know, video. So I think we covered everything, and that's the essence of shelter and how I currently think about shelter right now. I think next I'll do a water video. I gotta get these uploaded to YouTube. I can't think of anything else I'm missing for shelter. Gaiters. I got these Swedish wool gaiters. Let's see if they're down here somewhere. There's one of them. Swedish wool gaiters. They go on your little booties. Booties. Well, I'm not going to put them on right now. But they wrap around your feet like this, and they help a lot. They're not in the pack because I hike with them. And like I said, I want to carry everything in the pack that I don't need while I'm hiking. And I think that's it. I know I'm missing something. I know I am. But anyway, fuck it. Those are the two shelter videos. If you don't like them, if you're not like, oh, he wasn't Steven fucking Spielberg, get bent! The thumbs down is available. Feel free to thumbs down if you hate so much. Alright.